Well, welcome to the third episode of the No Stages podcast. I'm George Thomas, Rick Boethling, and today we are going to be chatting with Johnathan Moore. Johnathan, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us.
You're welcome, buddy. Thanks for having me. It's good times.
I'm looking forward to talking with you now. Really looking forward to seeing you in Oceanside, but I really want to greet you in Annapolis this year.
Done deal. Done deal. We're on for it. It's the goal. So yeah, we'll be there.
What's kind of been your overwhelming motivation for training this year? Getting out there and trying RAAM once. You made it to Fort Yates, Kansas?
Yates Center, yeah.
Yates Center, sorry.
Yeah.
What's the driving force for you?
I'm a competitive guy, right? So failing at something isn't really cool. So taking those big nasty three letters DNF was not a nice day in the office on RAAM. So yeah, it's about that. I mean, you guys nail it. You know, when you look at the website, it's like, hey, some people are here because it's their first time and they're going to go smash it, and they do, and then they come back because they get the bug. And then some people are like, they come in and I mean, this is hard as hell, right? Let's be truthful about it. When I came into RAAM, I was like, all right, we got this. I had a great team, like been training hard, loads of support, but Mother Nature whooped my ass, like big time in the desert, right? As you guys know. So I don't believe in failure. Like, so it's about getting up and saying, all right, these are the lessons that we learned. I've met such a cool community of people within RAAM. Like, I got to take my hat off to you guys because it's been really cool to meet some of the guys and obviously some of the ladies and the whole community. And so, people turn around to you and they're like, "Hey, you're going to go give it another try?" And you're like, "Well, hell yeah!" Because number one, it's fun, which everyone thinks I'm crazy for it. But number two is that DNF, right? Is you do RAAM because, or for me, I do RAAM because I want to see what metal is inside of me. Like, how far can I go? How far can I push? Like, how hard can I push on a daily basis to go and smash it? And so that's what we've done in training this year is, I crashed and burned obviously in the desert. So that was hilarious. But then even when we got to World Time Trial Championships, I mean, I'll never forget, I had my legs in the air. I don't know how many miles in I was. And Rick comes over and he's just like, dang, you guys in England just can't handle the heat, huh? And I'm like, I hate you right now. Like, yeah, you suck, right? But it's true. I mean, my body is not, that's the nemesis, which I found. So this year I was like, well, screw that. And I've been in Death Valley and all sorts of fun stuff. But yeah, so that's the reason. I don't want the DNF. I want to go win and have some fun, right? See what I'm made of. And if winning means it's a 10-day RAAM, then great. Like, and I'll let someone else come in at 7 days again, like Christoph Strasser and the rest of the gang that are elite crazy guys. Game on. But I'm crossing the finish line this year. That's it.
What's it gonna feel like for you to go through Yates Center and go?
You do not know how many times I've thought of that nasty little spot just before there where it's like game over. Like, it's imprinted on my brain, So yeah, I mean, I got to like 1750, right? So when we at the 1500-mile marker, the team, like Ryan and the boys, they had this little like piece of paper, which was like, you're halfway, like 1500 miles. Great job, And that was a moment. So I'll tell you straight, that won't matter this time. What is going to matter this time is when I cross through Yates Center and I'm like, bingo, and we're like smashing it to Missouri and stuff. So that'll be, you'll see me a little pep in my step then for like 20 minutes and then I'll be knackered again,
It's a good motivating factor though, right? And it's something, RAAM is such a unique race that way that, like you said, winning is getting to the finish line. It doesn't necessarily mean getting there first. I mean, it really is challenging, and having those intermediate motivation points is really critical. What keeps you motivated to stay on the bike even after you hit the 1750?
I think it's going to be Chris DeMarchi with a stick, and he's just going to keep whacking me anytime I try and get off of the.
Oh, we just lost him. Hold on. All righty.
All right, you got me.
We got you audio. Yep.
Sorry, my apologies.
Okay.
Million phone calls a day, the joys of running a company, right? So yeah, the thing which is going to keep me on the bike is it'll be a combination, right? I mean, obviously Chris is a huge motivating factor. Like I've been able to train with the guy and that sort of thing, but it's not just him; it's the entire team. So it takes so much, right? So there's the personal side of things. We're racing this year for cancer research. My dad passed away from cancer. I've got a really good friend of mine right now who is, her name's April Cabral. She's a friend of the family, all of that stuff. And she's fighting like a maniac, you know? So there's like some internal pieces where we're going to get in there, go raise some money, but do this and have fun. We're logoed up as Cabral's Crusaders, you know? And for that reason. But then there's people that are on the team. I mean, like there's some serious people on the team this year that have given up their time. I mean, like everyone from Chris and Ken, all the way through to Darcy, who, you know, runs Grupo Nutrition. He's coming in from Canada. And like, I mean, I've got a nutritionist, Shane, and all the rest of them. They've all put so much time and effort into me and the success of this, that me not giving my best effort on that level is just, it's just not cool, right? You know, because there's other people that have given up their time. So there's the personal motivation of that deep rooted piece where you're doing this for people that you've lost and people that you don't want to lose. There's doing it for the people that are around you and the support that you've been given. There's a financial side of it. I mean, this stuff is not cheap, right? You know, so let's go spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on bikes and people and equipment and everything else, and then just bin it halfway. No, that's not going to happen, right? And then you come down to things like family, you know. There's a really, I don't know how to put it exactly, but there's a piece where I want to teach my kids of say, hey, look, you know, you're going to come up against hardships in life. And some of them are going to be self-made. Some of them are just going to naturally turn up and you're going to need to know how to deal with them. But if you train hard, if you pick a goal and you work at it, and even if you fail at it initially, look, you get back up, you go do it, and you've learned a bunch of lessons, and bingo, you attack it again. And the girls see that, you know, and it's all about being the right leader, the right dad, being an inspiration to them as well. So there's a lot on the line, which really is like 10 times more than all the financial side of things, because you can always go to work and earn more money, right? You know, but yes, it's all internal stuff which drives. And as I say, there is my crew chief Lane. He's known me for 15 years, right? This guy is Mr. Reverse Motivator. He'll just lean out the window and say, hey, you suck, right? And I'll be like, I hate you right now. And then I'll just pedal harder. So between Chris whacking me with a stick, Ken laughing at me, you know, Lane giving me reverse psychology, I'm going to turn up to the finish line and I probably won't even know my own name, George. You're going to have to remind me of like everything. So that's the jam.
You got to look back at your crew chief and go, you know, no, right now I both suck and blow at the same time, even though that is not physically possible.
I don't know, mate. We're going to give it a whirl, right? I mean, I'm just, I'm excited, mate. I mean, as I said, I did Death Valley like 2 weeks ago. It was like 113 to 116 degrees out there. So it was a nice kickstart to heat training. I got to give kudos to my coach, Tim, because he is like, he pulls the core heat training stuff, right? So I've been sitting at 102 degrees on my core to 105, right? Just ramping up my core. And so I just got back from Phoenix yesterday and I wasn't able to do the indoor training sessions. So for the past 2 weeks, I've been doing these core heat training sessions. I go out to Phoenix and I literally just smashed a number 2 from Scottsdale up to this other random place, Carefree, I think it is, and flipped to Uri and came back. But I was able to eat in time. My core was at exactly the right temperature. So I think last time I did RAAM, I want to say I was like 110 watts and dying in the heat. And now I'm sitting at 180 to 200 watts and I'm just punching it in the heat. So like, I'm excited. I mean, we've got 2 weeks left of heat training, but man, that worked. So there's some fun in the science behind it all, you know?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I know, right?
You watch, it's going to be a cold year in the desert this year.
Hey, mate, I'm good for that. I'm totally cool with that. As long as there's a tailwind coming out of like the Rockies through Kansas, That's what I need. I'll be totally pumped for that. Cold
Yeah,
in the
you know
desert.
that doesn't happen that often, Johnathan. Sorry.
Cheers.
But it seems to happen to varying people throughout the event, because I hear every year, well, I
Somebody.
love the tailwinds in Kansas. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah. I remember standing up and on the last one, I was literally stood up, leaning to the right, and the wind was like smashing me, and everyone was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, it felt good." So yeah.
There's a couple of things you've said that I really like. Well, a lot of what you said, but one, putting out those celebrations, those can be so mixed. When I've seen you made it, the 1,000 miles, that's not exciting for me. To me, that's a sign that says you have 2,000 miles to go. I don't like that stuff.
See, I'm the
Other
opposite,
thing
but
you said that I think is really important, because I think we can really get caught up in the excitement of the event. But when I hear or see people saying, "Oh, I just can't wait to see you crush RAAM this year," it's like, nobody crushes RAAM.
you take a beating. Race across America is race against Mother Nature and how much can I eat while cycling across the country. That's it. It's not a bike race. It really isn't. It's how many calories can I consume whilst getting beaten alive by Mother Nature.
Yep.
Yeah, and certainly Mother Nature can be unkind on any given year, and rarely is it the same every year. It shifts. We've had the year that you raced the first time, it was so hot in the desert, and the finish line was so mild.
Right.
And so you just don't know. And then we have those years where it's really mild in the desert, but crazy crappy rain in Ohio, Indiana areas. So you get to experience that. Are you ready for we know you're ready for the heat, we think. Now are you ready for all the crappy, windy, rainy stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you took a look at what's been happening in California for the past 6 months, but this winter I've been cycling. Like, I mean, I might as well have just gone in a swimming pool and cycled. I've seen more rain this year in California than I've seen in 15 years. I was like, this is crazy. I think the winter stopped last week. And I got friends up in Colorado. They're like, yeah, it snowed last week. I was like, are you serious? So like, maybe 2 weeks ago now, but yeah. So honestly, I've got all my thermal gear, everything. Like I got all my rain gear. I can cycle in the rain because I'm English. I got
That's
no
right.
drama. Just a cup of tea and some raindrops, and everyone's a winner. So yeah.
Yeah, we did a 24-hour training ride last weekend, and it was snow at elevation. So we actually changed our route around just to avoid garbage weather like that, because we wanted to keep going and not end up getting sick, crewing each other and stuff. It was like, no. But yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe the weekend before it had been in the mid 70s, low 80s, and the following weekend, snow.
It's crazy, right? It's good. It's good.
Which I guess is good, because you got to be ready for anything.
Yeah, yeah. It's and that's the thing with the team, right? Is I'm super grateful to have, people like Ken and Chris, as I say, and even like Flo is someone who's done RAAM before as well. So I've just been fortunate to meet the right group of people who are coming together with, 5, 6+ RAAM seasons under their belt. And so yes, we've got the gear, we've done the training. Nutrition side of things is going to be hilarious. I've been testing out all sorts of different stuff, but Group O Nutrition is the team that we're running with for liquid diet side of things. Other than that, I'm just going to be a monster and just eat hamburgers and all sorts of stuff because I'm flashing everything. Like my stomach is just like the minute it goes to my mouth, it's like disintegrating and going to my legs. So yeah, I'm excited for that. It'd be good fun.
Now, you called your crew the Crusaders, and I know you had a good point behind that. The first thing that flashed in my head were, British Knights. Are you Templars? The T-shirts with red crosses on them, and
No, not in this one. So Cabral's Crusaders was the name that April Cabral brought together about 6 years ago when she was first diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. So normally with metastatic breast cancer, you've got a survival rate of about 4 or 5 years, right? So she's in year 6, pushing into year 7, I believe now, right? honestly, this woman, like, so she's the same as me, like 42 years old, you know, mother, two beautiful kids, married, all of that sort of stuff, right? You know, she's what you would consider a normal, awesome human on the planet. And she's a badass, right? So it's 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 just crap that that kind of thing happens to someone who is just such an influence and such a giver in life, right? And she's literally as a warrior, right? Like this girl does not give up. She's like got some hardcore just genetics inside of her to say, screw you, we keep pushing. And so Cabral's Crusaders was created from that. Each year they've done the Jimmy Fund Walk and the Boston Marathon. And she's been featured on different milestones on it because they've raised so much money and stuff like that. Well, you know, so this year I was just like, because it was going to be last year, but I was still injured, so I couldn't race. But this year it'll be Cabral's Crusaders on the back of the jersey, on all of the bib shorts and stuff. We've got the metastatic breast cancer logo on obviously top left. And yeah, I can't do any capes because truth be told, if I put a cape on, you know it's going in the rear derailleur. My life is going to be, I'll be like, I'll be that guy on the
please
RAAM
don't
team.
do that.
Yeah, I'll be trying to pull it out of the, and I'll be like, oh man. So I'm trying to stay safe on it as well as do something really cool. So it's good fun.
Biggest concern that you've had training and in preparation that you've overcome to this point?
The heat, for sure.
Yeah,
like in
okay.
January, I started flying around everywhere to go get hot. It was my nemesis on the last one. And I truly, until about 6 weeks ago, I didn't realize what I was just overlooking. So a quick example is when your core sits at 101.4, you enter heat training zone. All right. Depending on how good you are with the heat, some people can sit and ride at like, you know, 102.5 to 103 or 103.5, right? You know, they're like proper hardcore trained and they can keep the power on. They can still take on fluids, still take on board food and continue to move. And I'm sure and I have no doubt that people like, you know, Christoph Strasser and even Marco Bello and people like that, I mean, I'm sure they're right up there on that side of things because they're just insane athletes. For me, I found that on my heat tests, I found that I got to 101.4 and I was in the zone. And then I pushed and my heat zone came down to 101.9 and I had to sit between 101.9 to 102.4 as a maximum. If I breach 102.4, entire system shut down within 20 minutes. And that means your gut shuts down, everything cooks and overheats. And so I didn't realize when I went out into Death Valley, the first night that I got there on Friday, I went out, I just did a simple easy ride, like 40 miles, 20 miles out, 20 miles back into Badwater and back. And it was like 1995. It was great that night. I was like, yes, this is lovely. You know, give me a pina colada. This is wonderful, you know. But then the next day I had a 130-mile ride planned and I had 6 liters of fluids on me, so electrolytes and everything, fueling. And then I had my 2 bottles in the cages and I had a couple of different spots that were planned for refuel. Excuse me, the temperature was meant to be like in the 90s to 95s. That's what was on the website and stuff. I got out there and it was 100. And after 100, it went to 113. And I'd been sucking down fluids like crazy. I'm 20 miles away from my refuel stop with 1 liter of fluids left. And I was like, rut roll, yeah, because I had to climb 3,500 feet over Salisbury Pass to get down into Shoshone to then refuel. So by the time I hit Shoshone, I was man down. And it was just me. There was no support crew, right? So that was a sketchy moment. But then when I looked at the data, in fact, real quick, I refueled in Shoshone, pulled myself together and just got the 52 miles back to the hotel in Furnace Creek, into the headwind, but the temperature drops to like 100, maybe 95. So bingo, we're in the zone. I was good to just cruise, right? But it was a good lesson because I sat at 103. So my core temperature was 103 from like Badwater all the way into Shoshone, which is a good 50 miles-ish, maybe 60. And it just shows, it literally showed me that my entire system will shut down over 102.5. And I was just like, well, hot dang. So just from a heat side of things, we now have a really good system to keep my core temperature at 101 to 102. And if I'm sitting at 101 to 102, I'm doing 140 to 160 watts. I'm eating 56 grams of carbs an hour. Bingo, we're off to the races. I just keep pedaling, So it's been a fun science experiment this year.
Really fascinating. And I think my temperature must be around 80.
Mine might be frozen. I don't know. I'm right there in the hating the heat department. So do you have any other plans to keep cool? Like the desert's a huge issue for most riders, and it happens so early on in the race. Do you have any other plans to keep your core cool, to keep your body like moving forward without breaking that temperature threshold?
Yeah, so what we've done, mate, I've been testing a lot of stuff, and truth be told, the simplest things work. I've done the whole ice vests. I bought a whole bunch of different ones, tested them out. The challenge I have with ice vests is if you can keep them cold, bingo, it'll work. The best thing that I've seen for me so far, and this is very like individual, is if you'll see me on race day with white sleeves on. The best place to get ice is under your wrists on your sleeves. Obviously, a neck towel of some form, whether it be the sock with ice in it, something like that. From a core temperature perspective, if it's ice that's under 2 armpits, again, you want to get as much ice around you that you can pull the heat out of your veins, which are closest to your skin, and it will help. It will cool you fast, right? But the biggest thing that you can do is if you have a core sensor and you just gently watch that temperature, you back off the power. And that's the number one thing. Doesn't matter how hot it is. It is going to seem crazy, but I've tested it. And as much as I hate my coach for like 3 years running, this guy's always got it right. So he killed me. He's like, John, slow, smooth, steady, will be fast. And I'm like a bloody greyhound that wants to race off into the winds chasing the rabbit. And so it's 100% correct, is when I see my core temperature rise at 101.4, drop the watts down to 150, 140, cruise. Your body will adapt. It takes about 30 minutes, but your body will adapt. Keep the fluids going. The more fluids you run through the system, the cooler you'll be. And so ice bottles should eat ice chips, right? So we switch up the fueling strategy. So my initial fueling is that I'll drink 2 bottles of Grupo on the bike all day, every day in regular temperatures, like 60 to 90 degrees. When we jump over that, I now need to switch to 1 bottle of Grupo and then 1 bottle of Element, which is electrolytes only. With that as well, though, if it's now like 105 plus, I'm going to be doing minimal amount of Grupo because they did a high heat blend for me. So there's a custom blend, which like big fan. We'll use that high heat blend. I'll use my electrolytes, but I'll also be smashing ice chips or just ice water with ice on me. It means I don't have to stop, and that's the key piece in all of this, right? The less amount you have to stop. So, I mean, I just did it like 2 hours. I was in Phoenix. In order to keep my heat at 102 plus, I was able to smash 230 watts for 2 hours straight whilst fueling in the desert in Scottsdale like 2 days ago. And I went and bashed out 48 miles, and I could have done it again because we know the numbers. So my biggest thing to anyone is like, know your numbers and just don't break them. Like if you're creeping up, back off. It will pay you dividends. And then at that stage, you never break the number, so you don't break yourself. So you don't have to go into the emergency brake glass panel and be like, oh crap, what do we do? So you'll see me behave at the beginning of RAAM this year. I will not be a crazy lunatic racing off into the distance.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing that. So we see you at the finish. It's been great chatting with you, Johnathan. Anything else, Rick?
No, I think that's great. Look forward to seeing you again, and it's always a pleasure. So you got a couple weeks left to fine-tune your bits and pieces, and then we'll see you out there in a couple weeks.
Cool, man. You guys have been great. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much, man.
Thanks, Johnathan. See you soon.
Thanks, Johnathan. Bye-bye.
Bye.